Hey guys, this is Jim from His Nature Farm. I want to welcome you back. Like promised, I was going to have an answer on this fish kill. We were thinking it looked like the Dead Sea over here, but the fish have now sunk to the bottom of the lake. So let's take a look here real quick. All right, so you may be seeing out there that we don't have any fish floating anymore, and they're gone. They have kind of sunk or been eaten by other fish. Now, there's been some good signs, and the first sign is that we haven't had any more fish kill. It's been a couple days. We've had some rain here and there. We also have life in the lake. We see turtles, we have other small fish. So we call up the state, and here they are. I want to show you them. I'm not going to interview them, I don't think. I'm not sure if they want to be on camera, but let me give you a show there. They are, so there they are. So they're from the state of Tennessee, and we had them come out. And I'm going to give you their results here in a minute. Let me get talking with them real quick. Our guys from the state came here, a bunch of young folks, and they're biologists from the state of Tennessee. And that's what they do, water and conservation. They deal with all sorts of issues with creeks and streams and bodies of water and other things about conservation. And they're a great resource. A really great resource in the sense that they came out here and they checked the water. So what were they looking for? Well, primarily they know of the typical things that you would find in a lake. The first thing that they stated was that in this pond or lake, whatever you want to call it, they're looking for life. So we have little fish, we have turtles. You could see them, they're swimming around. You could see the movement of the water. They also did notice that we have some algae, quite a bit of algae at the edges and it's subsurface, so it's not even at the surface at this point. So there is an algae issue which could cause a problem in the quality of the water. However, that is pretty rare, and typically that's not the issue. So what they were saying is that ultimately they needed to check the oxygen level, which of course is a given, right? But there's some things that I didn't know that they pointed out. So in water, you have a lot of temperature inversion, and you have a lot of switching between day and night. You have water rising and water sinking. And just like the temperature, the oxygen levels are the same way. You can have sudden collapse of the amount of oxygen in the water. Now, when they tested the water, it's during the day, it's morning, and he's got about a 56%, I guess, oxygen saturation. I think that's what it is. Took the temperature, said it's 77 degrees. Temperature's really good. It was at about 6 feet is where he took it. And what he was saying was that ultimately what's going on here is that yesterday or the day before when this happened, we had a couple of warm days. And at night, you had the temperature inversion where you had the oxygenation of the water that didn't have a lot of oxygen in it. Believe it or not, most of the oxygen-less water is towards the shoreline. In the depths, it retains its oxygen more. Also, it's cooler. But chances are that was the issue. We had a sudden depletion of oxygen. And certain species of fish can be very susceptible to that particular loss of oxygen suddenly like that. Happens really quick, and it can happen just like we had where we have a sudden change in the temperature and humidity. So that is their estimation. They're going to take it back and look at the numbers a little more just to make sure they're right in what they're assuming. But being that we have life in here, there really is no smell anymore, and there's no more dead fish. They're concluding that that's it. So what's the solution? So the solution is obviously oxygenation at first. And we can work on getting rid of some of the algae. It could help, but oxygenation of a body of water like this. So how do we do that? Well, we get an aeration system. So we got to get an aeration system and place it in the water, and it's essentially a bubbler. And depending upon how much we want to spend and how many bubblers we want to put in here, that will give it will mix the water really well with oxygen and the temperature. So the temperature will really be able to be a lot better. It may actually cool the lake, something that they didn't say, but I'm saying that it may have actually cooled the lake a bit. So we're going to try that. We're going to put that in there, and we're going to also work a little bit on maybe some of the algae that's we don't really see right now in the water. We have nothing really there, but you can see it's pretty still, and that's the issue. You have a lot of stillness of the water. We don't have a lot of wind here right now. This time of year, you start getting this. Well, you start getting this this really heavy air with the humidity, and you really start getting that heavy water, meaning that humidity to kind of lay down on top of the water like that. Don't have a lot of air movement. So I'm going to gamble that that's probably it. Now, he did say, I said, well, now if you want somebody, let's say, to swim in it, how do you know it's safe? Well, look, you could spend a fortune on tests, okay? And some of these tests aren't cheap if you want to check for everything. He said the biggest thing in Tennessee we want to test for is E. coli. So we want to test for E. coli in the water. That we can do a test. A private company we can send out the water and they can check for E. coli. With E. coli, is it life-threatening? No. But the idea is that if you have an open cut or wound and you go swimming in it or you drink it, could cause you some problems. You can get an infection, basically. Won't kill you, but you know, it could cause a little bit of an issue. So that's the idea here. The idea is that we're going to do what we can within the budget we have. Now, we could use Lucy there as a test. Our canary in the coal mine. So Lucy has been disobedient and has swam in this lake more than once since the fish kill. And she goes away and she will swim and she comes back alive. So I guess it's healthy. But ultimately not really, is that we see a lot of fish, we see a lot of turtles. Obviously there isn't a great plague, and this isn't really the Dead Sea. So ultimately that's a good thing. So we're going to keep you informed, keep you up to date on what's going on here with the lake. I think it's something we can all learn from. If you have a pond or a lake, stuff like that. By the way, there was an interesting, in my discussion, one of my questions was, well, we had cows at one time. We didn't own them, cattle, and this was used for cattle. Is that going to be a real danger? And he said, well, actually, it will wear off. I mean, if you have, obviously, Giardia, I think it's Giardia, where it could come into the lake from cattle feces, but we don't have any cattle. We don't have any runoff of any of that from even up above. But cattle can actually, even with their feces in the water, ultimately, when you look at it, right? Ultimately, what we know is that, and he said this, that they have had ponds where active cattle are in the water and it's full of fish. So, meaning that it's dangerous, but maybe not for fish. For humans, you wouldn't swim in it, obviously, but that isn't necessarily, particularly this many years of not having cattle in the lake, there is probably no issue with anything like that. So that's a good thing. So we learned a lot. We want to really appreciate the state of Tennessee to coming on out here. You know, sometimes we get weird in our, we don't want the government doing things, but the government really does at certain times have good places. They have good reasons to help you out, and a lot of it's free. And these folks were the nicest people, and they were very helpful. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes it's really good to have the state come out and help you. It isn't, they're not trying to control you or anything like that. Now, sometimes, of course, if you get grants and stuff like that, yeah, they could, okay? Sometimes the idea, though, is, you know, you can get a lot for a little bit of money, and they were very helpful in that. So we're very appreciative to again, the state of Tennessee for coming out here so quickly, a couple days to get out here, and this is what they do. So anyway, it's great. I want to thank them, and I want to thank you guys for just sharing this with us. If we come up with anything different or anything more, we're going to add to this video, and we'll see if we have any other issues. If not, let's just leave it at that this is an oxygenation issue, and you got to be a little alert to what you're doing. And like farming and anything, you know, I say farmers are some of the smartest people. And not that I'm a full-on farmer, but some farmers are some of the smartest people because they have to know so many things. They have to know the weather, they have to know mechanics, they have to know farming, they have to know science and biology with the levels of the soils, so on and so forth. So I really respect the people that do this for a living, because you got to really know a lot about this stuff, and you have to do a lot of research. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe if you can. Of course, your comments are always welcome. We love them. And we will catch you guys back real soon. Thank you. You have a blessed day.